And welcome to Shakey's Sports Journeys. As always, you can find us by searching Shakey's Sports Journeys on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and Podbean. What a guest got for you today. You can see it already. This man is the first British Asian World Championship boxer, MBE as well. And if you think I'm lying, just take a look at that shiny belt. Give us a look at that, please, Jav.
Yeah.
World champion. Can we turn it around? Can we turn it around so we can read the IBO part? So front on.
Oh, sorry.
Look at that. World champion, IBO. That's an achievement. MashaAllah, unbelievable. Welcome to the show, brother.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, and thank you for having me.
No, it's a pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure. We'll take you on a wee bit of a kind of roller coaster today, chatting through your journey, what took you to that man behind your right shoulder there, carrying all the belts. But let's go back. Let's go back to the start. You're a Nottingham boy, born and bred, I believe. In Nottingham. Or tell me about your family, your background, etc.
I was born in Reading in Berkshire, but I came into Nottingham when I was about a year old. Okay. So more or less Nottingham, born and bred almost. My family came into the UK around I think it was around the 60s.
And Haley coming from Pakistan, yeah?
Yeah, they came from Pakistan in Kashmir. Traditional family. My mum and dad came together, and we were born here. Yeah, so we've been born and bred here.
How many siblings are you?
And there's 2 sisters and 3 brothers. Okay. I'm the second oldest. I've got a sister older, and the rest are all younger.
I can't imagine many people mess with your siblings through life.
And it's surprising. It's like a lot of boxers. People think a lot of boxers are tough men or violent and the rest of it. But I was very quiet, very shy. Nobody even knew I was a boxer or thought I was boxing. I think you have that bit of confidence in yourself anyway. But I think that helps sort of build it up, when you start training.
Mm-hmm. The other thing is you can't really let your hands go outside of a boxing round.
That's the other thing, yeah.
Yeah, that would cause some license issues, and we wouldn't have wanted that.
Yeah, I think you realise you can do a lot more damage than people think. It's not worth risking it. And you get into more trouble hitting somebody or even defending yourself. So you got to be careful.
Absolutely. So it's good to hear that you were a good boy, Jav, and you only kept it in the ring. So you growing up in Nottingham, what was it like? What kind of stuff were you into? What were you like at school and stuff?
Like I said, I was a very quiet boy. I was into all sports. Cricket, obviously, in the Asian community is very big, the Pakistani community especially, and I would play a bit of football and everything else. Always out and about. I didn't really enjoy studying as much because I was such a keen sports person, very competitive. Everything I did, I wanted to win it, whether it was snooker, darts, football, cricket, I'd play everything. And then just leaving school, a gym opened in the area, and I just fell in love with boxing.
16 years old when you entered the ring. Was that by chance? How did it come about?
It was. I mean, the area I was living in was a bit of a rough area. A lot of gangs, a lot of trouble around there. Drugs was starting. And me and a few friends, we went down to the local leisure centre, which sent out leaflets and opened a new gym there. We thought we'd check it out and it'd be good for us. But, I sort of stuck it out and I just went down and fell in love with it. And I was very good from start, more or less, a bit of natural talent, I think. And just took it from there.
So as soon as you walked into the gym, did you meet who was the kind of early coach that you met around?
It was Albert Tandy was one of the coaches. He was a small old man. He was only about 5'1" or 2. But it'd been in boxing quite a long time. He was an old school coach, fighter. He'd come from another village where they'd moved the gym. They had a couple of champions from that village. So he had a bit of experience and he coached us. A lot of the training we were doing it amongst ourselves a lot of the time because he was quite old at the time. Mm-hmm. But he showed us all the basics and done really well with us.
You were you one of few Asians around that time that would have been in the gym? Was there many around the gym at that time?
Yeah, there was very, very few. A few of my friends went down with me. Slowly, I think just stop coming. They find it quite hard. Couldn't motivate themselves or have the time. And I started competing very, very quickly, very early. Within a few months, I started competing, going around to different towns, villages, and hardly met any Asians. There was nobody around at the time. The odd one I'd maybe see here and there, but it was very, very rare.
Did you face any backlash because of that? I mean, that we're talking, what year are we talking here? And nowadays you see a lot of Asians, many Asians in the gyms.
I think this was 86, 87, I'd say 87.
So
when I started.
How was it? How did they take to
I think wherever I used to go, I used to get funny looks. They were a little bit shocked. I don't think they expected to see an Asian boxing. I'd go into gyms to spar. I'd get funny looks. I'd go to compete, and they'd all look at me funny. But as soon as they saw me box, all of a sudden everyone's like coming over to me, well done, and they have a bit of respect for you. So as long as you can take care of yourself, you earn your respect in boxing. So it's not too bad. And because it's a single sport, it's just you and them, him. It's a little bit easier. But there was a lot of racism, a lot of words being said, trying to intimidate you or trying to attack you in a way as you're going into places and stuff. But it soon stopped as soon as you'd win. Most of the time, it was okay afterwards.
Did that kind of spur you on a little bit more to prove yourself then?
Oh, definitely, big time, yeah. Whenever I heard anything like that or got any funny looks, I'd be like, yes, I'm gonna have this person. I'm not gonna. It just spurred me on more. I didn't want to. I never liked losing anyway, but it really spurred me on. So if it was a tough fight, I'd dig in and really go for it, and trying to prove to them that they're not better than me.
Well, that's the right attitude to have. Early success. You won the Amateur Boxing Association of England Championship. Brilliant achievement early in your career. Tell me about the competition and how you came about winning that.
I think I never really took boxing that serious. The first few years, I was doing it because I loved it and I enjoyed the training. I loved the competition, and I was winning most of my fights. I was getting in the papers, getting recognised. People were starting to talk about me, and then I went to Pakistan, got married, came back, and Prince Naseem came on the scene when I was about 23, 4. He came on the scene, and I saw him doing really well, and I thought, he's doing well. I should try, and got back involved. I sort of was on and off for a couple of years doing the boxing. Got back involved, and I thought I'm going to enter the ABAs, and I entered that year, got into the quarterfinals, I think it was, but I didn't make the weight. I had a bit of a sweet tooth, and never really bothered about my weight that much. It was only a few ounces over, so I went up to the next weight, the weight above light middleweight, and I lost to one of the top England boxers at the time, which I thought I'd won, but it's a bit political even in the amateurs. And then the next year I went in again, and I had that bit more experience. Inexperienced, I only had 20 odd fights at the time. I was boxing guys with 100 plus fights. That year I went in and I was buzzing. This was building up. I was never really that confident, and I had my old trainer. He helped me. Fidel Smith, he was doing bits with us as an amateur, and he sort of built a bit more confidence in me. I mean, believe in myself. And that year, I was just winning. I won each fight. I think I had 7 fights to get to the final. I won all of them. Obviously, got to the final, and same thing happened there. I always started a bit slow, but came on strong in the last few rounds, and I won it. I won the title. Yeah. And the following year, I tried again. Similar thing happened again. I got to the quarterfinals, didn't make the weight because I was messing about with it, and they closed the scales. So I decided
What weight was that at the time? That light middle?
No, I was a welterweight at the time as well.
Welterweight,
I was a welterweight, but that first
you got to be living good to make welterweight. You got to be strict, don't you? You can't. There's no space for.
You got to be very strict. Yeah, I was very tall for the weight, so I had to be very strict, and because there wasn't so much emphasis on weight making and diets and diet plans and all this back in them days, I was just doing everything myself. I wasn't really watching what I eat. I was very fussy, very funny with my food, so I was still eating a lot of the curries and the Asian food because I didn't like bland food. And then I was having my little sweet dishes and stuff, drinking Coke, stuff that I shouldn't really be doing, and I was getting away with it to a certain extent, a certain level. But that level, you got to be very, very disciplined, and I realized that, and I would have possibly won it 2 years running, but I didn't make the weight. They closed the scales, so I had to leave it at that. But I was really doing well that year, and I decided, it's a now or never. If I don't turn professional now, I'm 20, almost 27. I was at the time, I think it was, and I had to decide whether I was going to do it. And I thought, yeah, I had a couple of kids, so I had to decide if I was going to commit to the boxing, do a bit of work, look after the family, or what. It was very, very tough mixing both together, but it worked out well for me.
Certainly did. You turned pro at 27. In the early days, I read you were taking some fights at 1 or 2 days' notice. How did that work? Was that somebody's called off? You're getting a call, Jav, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realise what goes on in the politics of boxing and stuff. I joined the Ingle stable, which is in Sheffield, where Prince Nassim was. That was that was doing really well. It had a big name at the time. But they were just starting to lose some of their contacts, like Frank Warren and stuff. They weren't doing as much with them at the time because Prince Nassim was leaving them. So they were having to give some of the fights to other promoters at short notice to keep them happy. And yeah, sometimes fights fall through, or they wait for the last minute to give somebody a fighter who they expect that he's going to beat to keep him building him up. And that happened to me a couple of times. And with me being a bit older, I felt like I had to take the fights just to build, jump the ratings, get up there quicker, so I get my chances. And I've done that a few times. Luckily, it worked out for me. It doesn't always do that. It doesn't always work out. I was losing some of the fights, but I had a good right hand and finished both of them off in the last round, almost identically. And then I had a couple of other fights which were a few days' notice. Similar thing happened again. They were a bit more evenly matched. But yeah, I think it helped me get up there quicker than I would have. So it was a good move in a sense.
Could have been a lot of fighters, I'd imagine, that would have turned opportunities like that down. But your mentality was, listen, if I'm going to do something with this, like you said, you've got kids, you had family.
Yeah, I couldn't waste time. Yeah.
What was it like being around Naz at that point? What was he like? I mean, obviously, I'm a big fan of his. But what was he like around the gym?
I think I was a massive fan myself. Him being Asian one, and then his style and his showmanship and everything. It was amazing, and to be in the same gym as him, I think everybody wanted to go to that gym at the time, and we managed to go there and start training with him. He wasn't always there; he was there occasionally. We used to train a lot more with the Ryan Rhodes, the Johnny Nelsons, and a few others, Junior Witter, who was there after near the end. And there was quite a few other good fighters there. He used to come in a bit later because he had to have a bit more specific training and have more time for himself. But he was close to leaving them in that last year and a half when I was there. So we didn't get to see a lot of him, but it was still good to be around him and around that buzz and the atmosphere and stuff. So it was good. And I think I learned a lot with Brendan Ingle, even though we had a few problems with getting short notice fights and not being looked after the way we could have been looked after. Later on, I kind of understand the business and everything, and I understand why they do some of the things they do, but it doesn't make it any better. But yeah, I understand a little bit more of it.
How did your style suit that, Jim? Because a very specific style in there.
Yeah, the style wasn't. I think they got everybody almost boxing in a similar sort of style, and we all do similar sort of stuff. It helped a lot with my confidence because, like I said, I wasn't the most confident to begin with, and it did help me with the footwork and a few of the little techniques that I didn't mind there. But I think there was a lot of things lacking there. They didn't spar a lot. They didn't do a lot of head sparring. They didn't do a lot of circuit training and running in the gym. They left you to do that on your own, which I find a bit bizarre. And that's where a lot of fighters struggled in that same gym when they got to the higher level. I think around that time, there's a lot of fighters that had good records and then they'd lose as soon as they get a bit higher. There's the odd few that like the Naz, the Ryan Rhodes and the Johnnies that got through it because they'd done the extra work themselves as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think there's good and bad things, bad points, should I say.
Yeah, but great experience nonetheless. Listen, you talked about the early fights, but I want to just mention now what you went on to achieve in your boxing career, titles-wise. So you won the light middleweight WBF Intercontinental. You won the welterweight Midlands area title and the light middleweight title. You won the Commonwealth title. And that all led us to what we'll talk about in a second, the world title. But tell me about some of those titles and winning them, because they're prestige belts to be winning.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about fighting for the area title. There's a few boxers that were around Nottingham, and I was just waiting for the chance. And then before that I got the chance for the WBF Intercontinental Light Middleweight title. It wasn't my weight. I was comfortable at my welterweight, but I got the chance. And sometimes you have to get the chance to get recognised, get a belt, sorry, to be recognised. And that's what I done. You know, I saw they gave me the opportunity, and I thought, yeah, I can probably win this. And we went down to, again, I think I was probably the underdog, you know, and brought in as the opponent in a sense. Went down to the hometown of one of the lads, Lee Murter, in Leeds. And he had a big crowd, you know. It was obviously
Leeds. They go mental in Leeds.
It was crazy. It was crazy. But we took a good couple of minibuses ourselves, so we had a bit of support there, and it was a mad atmosphere. Honestly, it was a mad atmosphere, and it was a really good fight. You know, I think that really brought it out of me because of the atmosphere and the way he, well, the weigh-in and a few other bits, the press conference or whatever. It wasn't a proper press conference, but a smaller one. You know, I heard him say he's only a welterweight, and to his mate, he was laughing at me, and I was thinking, all right, I'm gonna have you, yeah. And that just worked me up. And then he came into the ring. When he was announcing the ring, he walked around the ring with his hood over, like what I call the Pink Panther walk or something, you know. And he's doing like a victory walk before he's even boxed, and that really got to me. And you know, I was so up for that fight. Plus, it was my first title fight, you know. So I was really up for that fight, and I boxed really good. I think everything went to plan. Yeah, it was a sweet victory, you know. Stopped him in seven. Yeah.
Silenced the Leeds crowd, and your three minibuses bouncing around.
It was crazy, yeah. It was so loud. There was so many Leeds supporters, and then when that happened, it just went quiet. But luckily there was no trouble or anything. You know, they all respected the win, and yeah, they were all right with us.
Happy days. Could have gone the other way. Could have gone the other way.
Yeah. I mean,
you then go back into your own weight, and you won the Midlands. Did that give you the chance to then fight for the welterweight?
Yeah, I think that gave me a chance because I went back to my weight, challenged for that one. That was boxed. I boxed that for the welterweight one in Nottingham, in the Victoria Lay Centre, which was I think it was somewhere our boxers and amateurs as well. So now it was there. It was close, not really that far from where I live. So I had a big crowd this time for myself, you know.
Who was that against?
That was against Ernie Smith.
Good fight. Did you?
It was a tough journeyman, come forward journeyman. Very tough. You know, I hurt my hands on his head, hitting him, and I finished him off with body shots. So, that was a very good fight. And poor lad's passed away a little while back.
What did you hear that?
Just rest in peace. Yeah, he's a very good fighter.
2 titles in the bank. Next one, prestige belt, Commonwealth title. Talk to me about that. Talk to me about winning that one.
Yeah, this is when I changed management, and Tommy Gilmore sort of got me the chance, you know.
You seen the light, and you brought in a good Glaswegian man.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that I wasn't really getting the opportunities that I felt like I was supposed to be getting. You know, I took 3, 4, 5 risky fights at short notice, a couple on 1 day's notice, a couple on 3 or 4 days notice, and another one. And I thought, you know, before long, I'm going to end up losing. It can't keep happening. I can't be in, you know, this can't keep going on like this. And then I was offered fights at a week's notice. Sergio Martinez, Wayne Alexander, sorry, and for the British title and stuff like that. And I thought, you know, sooner or later, out of my weight cut to get at light middleweight when I'm not really light middleweight. I was big enough, but I wasn't really light middleweight. And it would have, you know, sooner or later I would have lost. So I thought, you know, I need to move now when my contract ends, or I'm going to have to be happy with what I've achieved right now. And
so how did you get linked with Tommy? How did that come about?
I was talking to a friend of mine, Chris Aston, and he was working with Tommy, I think, already beforehand. And he sort of introduced us. And another friend introduced me to Chris Aston at the time. And we went and had a chat with Tommy, and he seemed like a really genuine guy. He wasn't like some of them. I don't want to say anything horrible about some of them, but yeah, some of them just don't. They promise you a lot, or everything. They promise you everything, and they don't deliver anything. Tommy told me straight. He said, "I'm going to give you a couple of fights, get you in position, and we should hopefully get you a Commonwealth title fight." And then, and he was true to his promise.
And did he choose the?
Within,
did he choose a smart couple of fights? Did he choose a smart couple of fights to lead you into the Commonwealth?
Yeah, I think I had one fight, and then we straight away got a chance for the Commonwealth. So I had one easy fight that lasted a round or so, and then we got the chance for the Commonwealth, and I'd never been past 8 rounds before, so it was. Oh, sorry, yeah, I'd never been past 8 rounds. Yeah, 8 rounds at the time. I'd done it a couple of 10 rounders, but they'd finished earlier. I'd stopped them both.
You don't get paid for overtime, Jav.
No, exactly. So, he got me the chance, and it was a tough fight, but one that I clearly won on points, 12 rounder. So that gave me the confidence to be able to believe that I can do the 12 rounds, and it helped me become a better fighter, I think.
So you get the Commonwealth, you got the 2 Midlands area titles in the bag. Tommy's working his magic behind the scenes. When and how did you get the news that, listen, we're making our way over to South Africa?
Yeah, Tommy told me that there was a chance that he's going to try to get the IBO belt. I think 2 were going to Willie Wise and another Londoner. What was his name? I can't remember his name now. They were going to box for the title, and then I was possibly going to get the winner. Okay. And I don't think they expected the American to beat him. I think they were expecting the Londoner to beat Willie Wise, and he ended up beating him. And as soon as he won, he said, "Yes, we're going to get the fight. We're sorting the fight out." So I was probably shocked, and I didn't really expect that to happen that soon, because I'd only been with him for about 1.5 years or something. Mm-hmm. If that, I think it was.
He tells me he misses a curry coming down to Nottingham. He said, "I've never had food like that when I would visit Jav. Best food you get."
Yeah, we took him. When Tommy came to Nottingham, we took him for a meal, and he loved it. Because we took him to a traditional Pakistani sort of restaurant. Yeah. It's a lot of places sell curries, but not all of them have got the right kind of traditional style stuff inside them. And this was really thick and creamy, and he loved it. And we had a few meals together. Yeah, and every time he comes to Nottingham, he says, "You got to take me for a meal. You got to take me for a meal."
So, when do you get the news confirmed that you've got the fight?
Yeah, I can't remember how he told me now, but as soon as he told me, I was already in training. I was ready, Mm-hmm. But I can't remember how he told me. I actually can't remember.
Phone call, probably a phone call.
Yeah, I think it was a phone call. He told me over the phone, and I was like screaming down the phone. Yeah, and I was a bit shocked. I couldn't believe that it was true. It was happening. Because I never thought I was going to get the chances. I was waiting around for fights all the time, and it's like you always think you're going to fight, and it's off, then it's on, and then it's off. And he said, "Yeah, it's definitely happening." So I was ecstatic. I was so happy.
Shout out to my man there, Tommy Gilmore. It's good that you got with him, and tell me about the journey then. So how long a camp did you have leading into that fight? What was your opponent like? What was
I think I had the longest camp that I ever had. Must have been about 7-8 weeks, at least. But we were reasonably fit beforehand. It was in Nottingham that I was boxing, so I didn't have to do anything. I stayed in Nottingham. I was training with Fidel Smith, and we had a good game plan. We watched a few tapes. We saw that he was a come forward. He was shorter than me. He'd boxed some good names, but I think we had a good idea that we would be able to give him problems with my jab. My style looks sort of basic, but I do everything really well. Mm-hmm. I had a good jab, good timing, good range, and the right hand was very deceptive. Almost everyone that I boxed I've hurt them or I've put them down. So I had some sting in the punches, and a lot of people underestimated that. I think they looked at me and thought, he looks very slim and skinny. He probably hasn't got any power, but I can hold my own and stand there, fight with him if I need to. So I was a good box fighter, and I think the experience was starting to help me become a bit more of a rounded fighter. I could do a bit of everything.
The night of the fight, big time. You've been training all these years from the age of 16, world title fight. How are you feeling going into the ring?
I was feeling, I was really, really nervous. I think the nerves used to always get me. I was always nervous because I didn't want to let my people down, let my family down, let my friends down, let myself down. I used to put too much pressure on myself. But for this fight, I was so relaxed. It was unbelievable. It was like I was fighting in my hometown. I'd sold the place out. There's about 5,000-6,000 people there, if not more. And it was crazy. I'd prepared so well, I think. I went into the fight and everything worked as we planned. We didn't really let him get into the fight. I had one bad thing, which was a headbutt. And I got a cut in the fifth, I think it was. Mm-hmm. Other than that, I didn't really have much of a problem. He couldn't get near me. He struggled with the foot movement. He struggled with the jab, the range, and I hurt him in the second round. I put him down, and he never really got into the fight after that. So it was a pretty easy-ish win. Even though it went to points, it was controlled by me, and I won most of the rounds. It was an amazing night, and I'll never forget that. A friend of mine booked this big hotel on the top of this new building, the corner house, and all the lads came back the day afterwards that were in our big group. It was about 70, 80 guys, and we all went there, and he provided food and everything there for free. It was really good of him. It's crazy.
You must look back. You must still look back sometimes now and just visualize that.
I do. I sometimes look back and I think, wow, it happened 20 odd years ago, or 20 years ago almost. Exactly, almost 20 years ago. And it just feels like a few years ago. It's crazy,
You're still looking young, Jav. Still looking young. You're keeping in shape. Obviously, I
did that shave with a haircut just for you.
Just good on you, mate. Good
on you.
Podcast. You're in
getting on now. I've just turned 50 now, so I'm getting on a bit.
No, you're looking good, man. For 50, looking good for 50.
Thank you.
This, we're going to come to where you are just now and what you're doing now. But just to finish on your boxing career, you had 25 fights, 13 fights you stopped by knockout, 10 decision wins, 1 draw, I think. Yeah, 1 draw. You had 1 defeat. Who did you lose to, and how did that happen?
I lost to Frederick Close, a French fighter.
Okay.
French champion he was. It was a decent fighter. I think he was ex-European champion and European Championship challenger. I got the fight at 4 days' notice in France or Paris, and I wasn't really prepared for it. I was ill the week before. I had a bit of a virus, and I took the fight just like some of them other fights. I think it was my 8th or 9th fight, and I took it at short notice, thinking it'll get me up in the ratings. They were telling me this as well, the Ingles, the Dominic, and the rest. And you kind of, as a boxer, you feel like you're gonna, I don't know, you feel like you're being scared, or you're not, you're not taking a fight, if you refuse a fight, you feel like a bit of a sissy or a puff, like they call them,
Yeah.
So you just, even though you shouldn't be taking it, or you're not ready for it, you still accept it. And I went there with no confidence. Got there. I'd when I came off the plane, I had a bit of a nosebleed from the altitude, from the coming down on the plane. I think that put more doubts in my head, and I was just panicking. I went to the venue. He was like a Ricky Hatton, he had cameras everywhere, reporters here, there, left, right, and centre, and there's me all on my own, and I was like a bit in awe, and
a bit overwhelmed.
I was kind of thinking, here I've been done in again, and I think I sort of let myself down a bit mentally. I went into the fight. The first 4 rounds, I didn't really press like I should have. I think for the first time I got hurt with a little body shot in the second or third round. Took me around to recover, but I came on strong in the last 3 or 4. I know I didn't win the fight, but I wouldn't have got it even if I did, get close in going away. I did lose, but I learned a lot from the fight. I think it was a good lesson for me in a sense. Had I not lost that fight and learned them little things that I did, I would have probably lost before I got to the world title or the Commonwealth title or something, because I wasn't stepping in with a jab, I wasn't blocking the punch properly. I wasn't moving the head as well as I am now. Now I feel like I'm more of a complete fighter, and I could hold my own with some of the top Americans, or near the end of my career, should I say? And that taught me a lot. We did try to get a rematch when I won the title, but it just never happened. I think he was scared.
It sounds to me like 4 days' notice. You were pretty early in your career. Probably if that had happened around your 20th fight, I think you would have handled things a bit better.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's so true what you say. Losses, you turned it into a positive. You bounced back, you learned from it, you went on, you've won world title, you've won all the British belts that you could possibly win. You must make your family and the local area very, very proud by your achievements. Nottingham, must really have been the fact that 5 to 6,000 people came out and watched you that night. That's an amazing achievement, and something that nobody can take away from you.
Exactly, it's there forever. You're right. Even now, 15 years after I retired, I go out and people recognize me. People talk to me. They got the respect for me, and one is because I work a lot in the community, helping the kids. But two, a lot of the older generation or the parents and stuff, they remember me from the days, when there was no one doing anything like this, and some of the obstacles I faced to actually do this all on my own, in a sense. They respect that, and
you probably knocked a lot of doors down for a lot of especially Asian youth coming through. I mean, you're, like I said at the top of this podcast, you're the first ever British Asian boxing world champion. You're now also Jawaid Khaliq MBE. These kind of achievements, is it such a big role model for the young kids coming through?
Yeah, I think I've never really bigged it up or looked at it as in such a big way. But yeah, you're right. It's a big achievement. Sometimes, I should sort of appreciate a bit more myself what I've done and do that. But yeah, you're right. I think now there's so many Asians, which is a very good thing. I see some of them, and I'm just proud to be part of that, where I might have inspired some of them, and like Prince Naseem inspired me and took them forward. And now there's hundreds and hundreds of young Asian boxers that I'm seeing doing really, really well, and it's just nice to see that. I wish there'd been more when I was around as well. But yeah, somebody has to start somewhere, and I'm glad to be part of that.
I mean, we've never really had any Asian star boxers in Scotland, but even now, recently a friend of mine, and who's coming through a Matchroom now, Kash Farouk, is making moves. You've got, plenty of Asian boys. There's Geshish Fak. There's obviously Amir Khan's done very well. There's not. I see so many Asian boys coming through down south now. Yeah,
I've seen so many every other week. There's somebody on Matchroom show and Frank Warren shows and getting signed up on Facebook. Like you said, I've lost the mark myself, and I'm thinking, wow, there's so many good fighters. And I look at them, and they look even better than I did back in the day. And I'm thinking, whoa, things are changing. Yeah, do
you think you would be more like? There's a lot. I think the opportunities with social media and everything now, I reckon you would have got a lot more exposure if you'd been
definitely
times.
Yeah. I think a lot of my friends, a lot of family members and others have spoke about this, that had there been more social media, had there been more opportunities back then, I could have probably got the big fights in America. I would have done a lot more, even if I'd lost some of them fights, I would have probably made a lot more money, made a bigger name, and I would have been a lot more recognized. But I mean, everybody gets their time. Like we believe everything is written for and there for a reason, there's hundreds and thousands of boxers probably before me that never got their chances that I got, and that's how it works. Whatever's written for you, you've got to be thankful and respect and be happy with that, in a sense. And as much as I would have loved to box some of the top Americans, tested myself against them, whether I win or lose, I'm happy with the outcome, and I'm happy that I can still have a few marbles and be passing on my experiences to the youngsters, and still be involved in boxing after all these years. I'm just happy with that.
Well, you mentioned that, and we'll go on to that now. You're sitting in the Jawaid Khaliq Boxing Academy as we speak. What an honour to be getting this footage straight from there. tell me about the academy. What kind of work you've done? Because I know I've done research on it, and you've done a hell of a lot in the community.
Yes,
And
I'm very, very lucky and very thankful. Not long after I retired from boxing, 2004-5, I started coaching. A lot of the parents, a lot of the people that used to come to my fights were saying, "Oh, my kids are out to do nothing, getting into trouble. Can you start some classes? Can you train them? Can you coach them?" And I started doing some coaching in a local centre that I rented. Before I knew it, I was getting 30, 40 kids there, and I had no equipment apart from just technique work. And then I got one bag or two bags myself. And then I realized I need a bigger venue, or I need more equipment in a proper place. So within a couple of years, I think we found a place, and that's where the Jawaid Khaliq Boxing Academy started from. Me and my brother Cameron started it off. We were in the place in Carlton, which is not far from the centre, for a couple of years, but that building was condemned. It was an old building that was breaking down, old factory building. So they kind of kicked us out. We caused a bit of a fuss because we were doing a lot of good work in the community. Got to the radios and newspapers and TV, and then they found us another temporary place in another area, and we waited around, found this place. We've been here for about 11, 12 years now.
where is it?
30.
Where exactly is it in Nottingham?
This is in St. Anne's at the Sycamore Centre. It's not very far from the Victoria Centre or the main city centre, or the Pakistan Centre. It's kind of central, where a lot of areas can access us and get to us. We get a lot of kids from all the surrounding areas that have problems with each other, but they work together. I'm working with youth offenders, working with social services. And we're doing classes in the mosque. We're doing classes in the parks now because of this pandemic. That's going to start on this Saturday. And we're working with different organizations. We've started our own organization, Down Knives, Gloves Up, which is helping to, trying to deter people from going out and about carrying knives, and teaching them the dangers of all that, and trying to keep them away from drugs, gangs, and antisocial behaviour stuff that would get them into trouble. Trying to encourage them to get involved in something like boxing or anything, sport-wise, education-wise, and that's doing really well.
How much of a buzz do you get when a young lad, for instance, comes into your gym and they're not getting up to any good, and then 18 months, 2 years later, that same boy is changed his life around, and how much of a kick do you get out of that?
It's crazy. It's like 8-9 years ago, I started some classes in the Forest Fields area in Nottingham, which was kind of rough, in a youth centre, and some of the young lads, 14, 15-year-olds with gold teeth, were coming in saying, yes, cuz and uncle, and all this, and I was like, shut up and talk to me properly, yeah?
Yeah.
And then within about 3 or 4 weeks, the main ringleader, after I gave him a couple of body shots with body sparring, yeah, he sort of respected us. And then within 4 or 5 weeks, not even 4 or 5 weeks, he was starting to help me control the rest of them. And everybody started listening. And that's when and even before that, but right about then, I really realized the impact that I'm having on some of these youngsters. And even before that, it was right. When I see the change, a slight change in them, it really made me feel good and made me feel like I've done something to help. And then at the gym, the parents used to come if they had a problem with a kid. They're saying, "Oh, can you talk to them because he's having this problem, he's having this issue. He doesn't want to go to school. He wants to be a boxer, or he's been messing about at school, fighting at school." And I started talking to them, and I realized that I'm having such an impact on some of these kids. Anything I tell them, they listen. They're not listening to the parents. They're not listening to friends, other family members, but they listen to me. So it was a good feeling, but it was a big responsibility. I realized that I'm not just a boxing coach anymore. It's a lot more than that. It's a mentor. It's like a parent figure. It's like a friend. It's a bit of everything. And since then we've had so many different kind of experiences, and I think I'm learning from all these experiences, and I'm becoming a better helper, social worker, parent, everything. I think it's a very big responsibility, but it's a amazing, fulfilling kind of role, and I'm just very happy, thankful that I'm involved in something that I love.
No, listen, it's I love to see, you had a great career, you achieved amazing things, but you're giving so much back. to everything you've learned. And it's
Mm.
honestly, we need more people like that, because I've played a bit of cricket down in Nottingham, and it's got some rough parts. Being from Glasgow, we've got some rough parts around here as well. And gyms like yourself who open the doors and encourage the youth to come in is vital. And I think boxing, people are warming to boxing a lot more in the last 10 years or so, that it's people would probably have thought, if I'd said to my mum when I was a kid, I want to be a boxer, she would have just automatically thought, oh, you're not going to a boxing gym, they're all bad in there, they're all, but it's not the way it works. You're taught discipline, you're taught dedication, and now you see a lot of people just taking it up as a pastime out with their careers, just doing a bit of boxing, and it works wonders for them.
It does. I think you're right. I think a lot of people are realizing it's more than just fighting. The confidence that some of the kids get from it, the discipline they get from it, and the health benefits are amazing. I'm getting so many parents that come here because their kids have been bullied and they want them to just be able to stand up for themselves. They want them to just feel a bit more confident and not be so scared to go to certain places. They're getting bullied or other reasons. Some are just getting unhealthy. They're putting on too much weight, young kids. And it's helping in a big way. I think people like Anthony Joshua and other people in boxing are helping that as well by making it a bit more glamorous, making it not so violent looking, and they're good role models.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, it's been a pleasure. It's been a real pleasure. I'm proud of your achievements. I think it would be nice to see more world champions like yourself coming through from British Muslims. There's plenty of talent there. I hope you will be producing a world champion soon. That must be the dream, to bring somebody through the stable and take them to the top.
Inshallah, I think that's every coach's dream, and the amount of young Asian or talent that is around right now, I think it won't be too long before we get some more coming through. Definitely, we've got Shiraz there. Shiraz, he's doing really, really well. We've got a few other boxers coming through. I think it won't be too long before we get quite a few. Yeah.
No, definitely. I hope so, brother. It's been a pleasure.
Akib Jawaid, Akib. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, that's it. I wish you all the best with your academy. I hope, inshallah, one day, and when all this madness passes, if I'm down south sometime, I can pop in and see your gym, maybe see a session. That would be amazing. Get to meet you as well. Get a picture next to this perfect cardboard man in the background. But I want to say thank you very much. Stay on the line just for 2 seconds at the end, brother. But thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me, and take care. Yeah. Thanks. Oh, sorry. Can I wish all the listeners that Ramzan Mubarak as well, please?
Thank you very much. Khair Mubarak, brother.